Hi, everybody. This is Ronda Cobb, the Money Coach, and thank you for joining us on our show once again. As you know, if you need to send me an email, you can reach me at rcmoneycoach@gmail.com. That's where you send questions and requests, and if you want to suggest a topic for the show, or you want to introduce me to someone that you think would be a really cool guest on the show, you can send me an email, and believe me, I will read it and I will respond. Now, of course, you know what's coming soon. Recently, we're working to update and upgrade some of the business offerings and our marketing because, as a small business owner, you need to keep your materials fresh and topical, and you want to hone your message for clarity and to make the message resonate with your prospects and your clients. So please visit the site at rcmoneycoach.com and let me know your thoughts on our progress, because there's a very wonderful website designer in Minnesota that's worked really hard to put up with me. Yeah, that's exactly what she's done. And to get this looking beautiful. So pretty soon it will be ready and live. But imagine how happy I was to discover that someone gave me a 5-star review on Google. And then a few more came in too. And then I got some referrals. I was doing the happy dance. I feel so happy. And so I want to thank my listeners for being there for me too. So thank you all. And the most frequent thing that people enroll in these days is the Forget You program. Maybe that's because it's a great program, but I enjoy working with the people who enroll because they have made the choice to change their lives for the better. And so many of them ask the same questions. Why didn't I learn this in school? How did this happen to me? But I have a good job. How can I be so broke? And the Forget You program is designed so it puts them into the proper financial position for security and freedom and growing wealth. So if it was necessary at any certain time, you could say, yeah, whatever, forget you, I am out of here. That's why it's called the Forget You program. So you could, if you had to, say, forget you. And you don't have to fear instant bankruptcy. But if you're not ready, there's no way you could ever be able to say, forget you, because that unemployment check is not going to cover your monthly expenses. So there's one sure way to avoid stress, knowing you have an exit strategy if, great big if, you need it. And we take people from broke to set and from tenant to owner. So this is exactly, though, what people with a good money quotient, money intelligent quotient do. They get set so that life doesn't throw them to the wolves and keep them there. But today, though, I want to delve into something about the question of how did we get here? How did this happen to me or to us? So I've made some lists of reasons why I think the American dream is shrinking. And then I'll give you a little heads up. The next show after this is going to be what you can do to recover your own personal American dream. So we are not going to be gloom and doom forever. But let's just talk about how we got a little bit shrinkage going on around here. Okay? First, I believe the one thing that we all have to just pay attention to is that we have arrived at the point where too many people have too much debt and or lasting poverty. And some of that blame falls squarely in the lap of our governmental agencies and representatives. They want to provide their contributors with better lives than their constituents. Uh-oh, I said that out loud. Oh, sorry. But it seems that way to a lot of people, and it might possibly be the case. But that being said, the rest of the blame falls on our own shoulders. And here's the top of my list of excessive debt and lasting poverty. Inaccurate information from agencies or media or social media or culture or big banks, and sadly, family, friends, is what's giving us a little bit of a problem. And then you add in the influence of really good advertising and TV programs that we all love to watch, but they show everyone living well without working extraordinarily hard to get to what they have. So our expectations are based on our visual images, and they're much higher than what our pocketbooks can handle. And we borrow to obtain that which we cannot afford. And then we pay for it several times over due to the high interest rates involved. And quite honestly, the banks and the finance companies love it because they're making money on top of money because of the way we're doing this. But the people that are in too much debt, we're not loving it so much, are we? Now, the next reason the American dream is shrinking a little bit is the forgotten art and ability to both shop for food and prepare meals. And I don't mean prepackaged, chemically processed, artificially flavored pretend food. I mean fresh food with real meals. Meals with a balance of foods and nutrients, different colors on the plate, stuff like you used to get when you went to grandma's or great grandma's. Because prepared food and restaurant food costs a lot more than homemade food. For example, and I don't do this very often, if I go out for steak at a nice place with a good quality, it's easily a $40 meal. And I live in a small city with moderate pricing. So if you live in a big city, you take your 40 and multiply it by 2 or 3 times because that's about what a nice meal in a good quality place is going to cost. That's a big if I go out. I don't do that very often. But if I buy a steak of good quality at a good store and I make some stuff to go with it, throw a tablecloth and some candles on the table, I now have a really nice meal for $15. Isn't that something? And you can do that in almost every market. If you live in a big, big city, it might cost you a little bit more for groceries, but it certainly isn't going to cost you $120 for a steak dinner if you make it at home. And prepared foods cost a lot more than ingredients in homemade food, too. I can buy a popular rice bowl for $5 in the freezer section and heat it up. But for that same $5, I can make 6 or 8 bowls. And if I buy that rice bowl with the stuff on top of it, you know what I mean, at a fast food place, it's $8. So if you want to shape up your budget, one of the best things you can do is learn to shop and cook. Next up is our inability to resist ads and clever store displays. I like to mute the ads on my TV, and I used to stand up and say ad and mute the TV for my kids so that they didn't listen either. Advertisers are so clever, though. They use psychology to convince us that we have to have stuff that we don't need. That's their job. Our job is to learn the lesson that is inherent in both the Forget You program and the Money Money book. And if you listen to our survey results survey, nobody knows what the key question is. The key question after all this time, everybody, is, do I want it or do I need it? Seeing something advertised and desiring it is a want. Being hungry or thirsty is a need. So the key question, do I want it or need it? Now, the next one is fairly obvious, and I don't really want to hurt anyone's feelings. But to be honest, there's kind of a lack of good math skills in many homes. And it's up to us to have the basics and to pass that along to future generations. If you rely on your phone, your friends, your bank, or your employer to make these decisions for you, you could be a very easy target for their greed, their mistakes, or their misinformation. And how will you know if you're being overcharged or if it's your employer and you're being underpaid? Not that I'm that skeptical, but doesn't it seem really weird that our public schools are graduating people that cannot do the math required to handle money? I think that's weird. Now, number 5 on my list of why the dream is shrinking might surprise some of you and it might amaze you for its inclusion, but I'm going to go there. It's the deterioration of our faith and our community spirits. If we continue to allow ourselves to be divided by rabble rousers, we will continue to degenerate and we will surely come to a crashing end in a loud roar. And remember, many years before my time, a great statesman told us this: a nation divided cannot stand. So do not let people divide you out. Get together with your friends, your neighbors, your fellow citizens. Ignore your differences and differences of opinions and embrace your similarity. Your economic standing can increase doing this because you will be one big unit and not one little group. Plus, your economic standing will increase because your neighborhoods will look better, perform better, and therefore the price of the houses in that neighborhood will go up. And guess what? That's a good thing for you if you own that house. Next, we need to fix our attitudes. Too many people feel entitled to take. And this is really a bad attitude when it comes to your personal finances. If we spend all of our resources giving to the entitled, we will go broke, singularly and collectively. And believe me, I am not referring to Social Security or Medicare here. Those are entitlement programs only by definition because recipients paid their premiums in the form of taxes their entire career. Of course, they're now entitled to the payout of the benefits they purchased with their premiums paid. But what I'm referring to is the programs that get those who could actually work and earn and contribute. Those are the programs I'm talking about. And the next reason the American dream is shrinking might stir a little controversy, but I still think it adds to lasting poverty. And here's why I believe that it does, because I've seen it with my own eyes in my own neighborhood. Years ago, I had a neighbor who said she was very poor, and she would regularly ask me for a ride. I wanted to be a good neighbor, so if I could, most days, I said okay. Then I observed the following. She was on every established program available. She requested charity from all sources, but she refused to limit her bad habits and indulgences, even when they undermined her health. Additionally, she had numerous pets to spend her assistant money on as well. So after her indulgences in her pets, she didn't have much money left for food or clothes, so she went to the food banks and relied on donations. So rather than those limited donations going to the hardworking family or elderly neighbor in dire need, they enabled her to continue her self-indulgent lifestyle, thereby continuing the poverty for those truly in need. There are too many takers and people who use our good intentions against us, and I think that's so sad. So number 7 is we need to limit the donations and services to those who are truly in need. That way, our dream won't continue to shrinky-dinky shrink. The next thing I hear a lot about is young people spouting off about how well the baby boomers are off, how well off the baby boomers are. So let's look at how that happened. This gets really interesting. So we're going to delve into this because the young people are telling us the American dream is shrinking and we need to give them more. Let's just look at that. Let's see what really is going on. If they're right, they might be, but let's find out. All right. And then, of course, in our next show, we're going to talk in some detail about how we can solve some of these issues and recover the American dream and end the shrinking. Because I don't care what age you are, you